All righty. Thanks everybody for joining the live stream. So today we are going to finish up our best ball drafts on Underdog before the season starts. And for that, we are going to do a marathon draft on Underdog. Now, along with that, we are going to do a quick recap of yesterday's draft. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So yesterday's draft, we'll go ahead and take a quick look and do a quick recap of that draft. Let me get in there real quick. So marathon, I've got 8 entries. We'll just take a quick look at yesterday's draft. Bear with me for just 1 second. Make sure these glasses are clean. All right, so we'll do a quick recap here, and then we're going to jump into a new draft, try to get in as many as we can here before the tournament closes. So in terms of yesterday's draft, area of weakness is definitely going to be quarterback. I waited on that to build up a strong running back and receiving core, but let's go ahead and take a look at the team. So we jump in. I was drafting out of the 112. I took Puka and Gibbs at the turn. When it came back to me, I went ahead and did a 1v1 here where I paired Moore with Metcalf for week 17. Then I went ahead and got Kittle, who I'm pairing with Jahmyr Gibbs for week 17. Followed that up with Calvin Ridley and got a secondary piece of the Seattle offense. So basically Jackson and DK to go with Moore for week 17. Got a second piece of that Tennessee offense. So bought basically the Ridley Hopkins target share volume out of Tennessee. Followed that up with at 9-10, where I went back in and dipped my toe back in with the running backs. Picked up Brian Robinson Jr., who really was just a value play at that spot, and then Tajay Spears to get some of the pass catching offense of the Tennessee Titans to go with Hopkins and Ridley. Now at this point, I might be overexposed, or at the very, I would say, maximum exposed at that for that team. So this team is obviously going to rely heavily on the quality of that Tennessee offense. And then went ahead and did the 1v1 stack here with Dobbins and Polk at the 11-12. Followed that up with Jalen Wright for the super high ceiling in the event that something happens to Mostert and or Devon A-Chain. And then paired Kittle with Musgrave, who also is low floor, high ceiling, perfect for these types of formats. And I think provides a little bit of uniqueness to the roster construction. So Kittle, Musgrave, went ahead and got Drake May in the 15th to pair with Polk, and then got Bryce Young basically as a bye week, early starter, and then hopefully we'll pass the torch to May, week 4, 5, 6, and then again, this team's going to rely heavily on the output of Bryce as a floor and May as a ceiling play. And then went ahead and drafted Greg Dulcich for a little extra insurance and a possible breakout. And then got Andre Yoshivash in the 18th to do a 1v1 with Dulcich there for week 17, Cincinnati versus Denver. So there you have it. That's the recap of last night's draft out of the 12 hole. I think all in all, it's a pretty strong team, and we'll just have to wait and see. But appreciate y'all tuning in for that. And now we're going to head on over to the marathon and hop on in to the live draft. Now we are in, we're waiting. It looks like we're going to fill right away. And we do. And I am drawing the 11 on this one. So that's going to be perfect. In the sense that I've been drafting towards the end of the board for a while now. That's the pull that I'm getting on order. And so, getting a little bit more comfortable down there at that side of the board. Also going to pull up fantasyfitness.io. This is the app that I have been building for the last 10 months. And I'm going to continue to build every week, adding new features and new functionality as the season goes along. So check that out too if you get a chance. Appreciate you all being here. Going to do marathon drafting in the marathon today up until kickoff. So hope you stick around. Pop in, pop out. Probably going to have this live stream going most of the day, or I'll do 2 separate live streams, morning, afternoon. But definitely going to do a lot of drafting today. So appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. Grab a beer, grab a wine, whatever works for you. All right, draft is kicked off. McCaffrey, Lamb, Wilson. Well, Wilson. I said that, and then I was like, wait, what? Wilson. Yeah, Wilson at 3. That's a reach. That's a massive reach. This guy must be looking for build uniqueness or something, because that's crazy. Tyreek Hill at 4, Hall at 5, St. Brown at 6, Robinson at 7, Jefferson at 8. AJ Brown. I like it this part of the board. If he can fall, Puka. Can always do the Puka Harrison stack potentially. Jefferson, Chase, Brown. All right, so we're going to go Puka. And then we'll go Achan for this one. We went Puka Gibbs. Now we'll go Puka Achan. We'll get to see Henry play tonight for the first time as a Baltimore Raven. So good luck to Henry tonight. Don't have a ton of him in best ball this year, but wouldn't be surprised if he does pretty well. Just a little worried about his age. All right, looking at this board, we have Barkley going off at the 2-3, Gibbs 2-4, London, Collins, Cup, and now Derrick Henry. So we have a robust RB here at the 5 hole with Breece Hall, Derrick Henry. And we otherwise have hero builds on the other teams thus far, except for Money Riley 21, who is doing a 0 RB build up to this point, as is the Garrett Wilson drafter, who goes Wilson Waddle, and I guess just wants to move that to the left side of the board for uniqueness purposes. I don't know. CD, Lamb, and Mike Evans go from the 2 hole, and now the Christian drafter at the 1 hole is on the clock. And he goes Deebo Samuel and locks in some San Francisco offense, follows that up with Chris Olave. and we're off in the third round. Pretty flat second round there from a wide receiver perspective. I heard the guys on Ship Chasers talking about that, and I completely agree. The difference between Marvin Harrison and Drake London and Nico and Kupp and Waddle is marginal, or at least it feels that way. And yeah, I mean, I think the players that stand out in the second that probably warrant this spot would be like Nico and maybe Harrison based on his projected and the target volume that he earned in college. Maybe Debo, Kupp, but he's injured, so there's always that risk. So yeah, it's just a very flat second round, and I guess in some ways allows you to do a lot of different things with your build from the second round. Now coming down the stretch here in the third, we have Pacheco coming off at the 3-2, followed by Patrick Mahomes, the 3-3. No stacking yet there. Josh Jacobs to go with Kyron and Tyreek. And then Devontae Adams at the 3-5, Hurts at the 3-6, Ayuk 3-7, Neighbors at 3-8. That feels like good value for Neighbors that late in the third. And same with Ayuk. I mean, you could argue that those guys should go in the second with some of these other guys. Same with Adams. Travis Etienne in the second. He continues. In the third at the 3-9, he continues to stay in that third round where he used to just live in the fourth. And now here on the clock, I'm probably going to go Rashee Rice and Tank Dell. All right. Let's go look at. So Rice plays Pittsburgh and Dell plays Houston and Rams play Arizona. So nothing really in that range other than Trey McBride. The difference between DJ Moore, definitely consideration there. Think that, yeah, those are all close. Trying some different builds here. DJ Moore and Tank Dell are very similar to me in terms of talent and profile. Rice and Moore are also fairly similar. So it just depends on which offenses you want to tether yourself to and which builds you want to try to complete. 12 picks away, back on the clock. Back to the board. So after I drafted Tank Dell, you can see I'm doing an anchor RB build. So I want to get to about 4 to 5, maybe even 6 wide receivers before I take my next running back, but will sprinkle a quarterback in or a tight end as well. Looking to get back into the running backs around 9. Come on, Ferris Bueller, work with me here, folks. All right, so into the fourth. Round 4 wraps up with Odunze, Cooper, and Pittman. And now we are into the fourth. Trey McBride goes at the 4-1, followed by Cook, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, and now we are on the clock at the 5-5. Real quick recap of my team. I'm doing an anchor RB build from the 11 hole. Started with Puka, took A-Chain, Followed that up with Rice and Tank Dell. Want to get into those Kansas City, Houston, Miami, LA offenses, and then look to do some 1v1s or some correlation down the stretch here. And that's the general gist of it. High upside, big swings, tournament style, 100,000 entries plus in this tournament. So definitely want to focus on upside and taking big swings for late season production, if that makes sense. So one pick away, looking for correlation here. Xavier Worthy obviously would be awesome. Hopefully I get him here. I don't, and that makes sense because why would you want to give me Xavier Worthy? You wouldn't. So what does that leave me in this on this team that's useful in this environment? I would say George Kittle makes a lot of sense here. There's a George Kittle, San Francisco versus Houston, or not Houston, Miami, week 16. And to go along with that, I would say, let's see here. Let's go Jaden Reed. And let's go CJ Stroud and do that pairing. Get CJ Stroud here. So get the quarterback out of the way. Now I've got CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, Devon Achane, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, George Kittle. So love this stack so far. Now I have basically, I have those 3 wide receivers. I got to get to 5 minimum before my next running back, or about 5. So this will probably be a back-to-back wide receiver range. Or I take one of the better, right on the edge of that value area for running backs that you come back into. Thought about Mixon, but I want to kind of get these other positions out of the way. Again, I love the variance, but high upside of a Kittle here, as do I like that CJ Stroud Dell pairing. Again, thank you all for being here. Appreciate you stopping by, and hoping you all are having a wonderful Thursday NFL kickoff day. At my disposal, I have the fantasy fitness application to look up player information, as well as NFL's week 15, 16, 17 schedule out there on ESPN. So 12 picks away in this range at wide receiver. Ladd could take a stab on Coleman, but definitely like the idea of getting back into a couple games here. Warren would be a target, as would Hollywood Brown. 9 picks away. There's some, let's see, a couple interesting things kind of going on with this board. The 3-hole is kind of doing his own thing, and that's fine. Looks like we have a pretty strong hero RB build going in at 1, balanced draft at 2, early quarterback, kind of do whatever. Gonna be short on wide receiver at 3. And you can kind of see coach at the end here is definitely doing an anchor RB, anchor RB, and kind of started off as an anchor RB and went a little bit more balanced, but kind of try to get back on those wide receivers right here in this range right now. So let's go ahead and finish this round, and then we will probably pop off to help my wife with some stuff just for a few minutes, and then I'll come back in. So 4 picks away. Definitely looking to add to the wide receiver room. Like Ladd here. And I like potentially Keon Coleman. Who do they play again? Quick look at Buffalo. Detroit. Ooh, Detroit week 15. So Buffalo's in play here. Ooh, he snagged him. Okay. So we'll go Ladd. And then I'll take either Hopkins or Hollywood Brown. Let's stick in with this Kansas City and get another piece of that offense. And now I'm going to go ahead and check in with my wife real quick. I'll be right back. Appreciate you guys. Alrighty, sorry about that. I'm back, and we are still 16 picks away. We'll see what's here now on this way back. Brian Robinson Jr., Jalen Warren would be my main targets here. Looking at some of these builds, or sorry, these matchups. Taking a quick peek here. San Francisco does play Miami, and then we have Pittsburgh in here. We have Baltimore. We've got Arizona. And Njoku is also consideration, although I would say that's pretty early to get back into that range. Hopkins. Zach Moss would definitely provide some floor here and has possible touchdown upside. Chase Brown is more of the swing for the fences kind of guy. Not sure if I want to pair him with Devon Achane. Might want to go a little bit more stability there. Also, Ford works well with this build because they play each other week 17, and there is a possibility that Chubb doesn't make it back or isn't the same back when he does get back, and Ford still has a decent role. Definitely not my favorite pick. Would probably take Zach Moss and get on to a back stack with the Broncos. I think that makes a lot of sense if he's available. Otherwise, I would snatch Warren because of that obvious Kansas City-Pittsburgh matchup, week 17. when you take that extra quarterback early, like a CJ Stroud, it does pin you a little bit at the running back position in this range, because you would be one wide receiver ahead, and then you would have been taking a running back in the previous round. So it's just something to keep in mind. I also like the option of the back stack here for New England. So I've given myself basically New England, and then I could also, if I take Zach Moss or Chase Brown, get into a back stack of. So there goes Warren. Like that pick a lot. Calvin Ridley, Warren, Justin, Drake, Malik. Yep, it's making sense. Good correlation. Let's go Zach Moss. We saw it last year, so feel good about that. And take a quick look here. He goes forward. So that's either Dowdle or Spears. Spears has the upside, pairs well with the floor. And I believe, I have to check real quick. Tennessee, Cincinnati. Perfect. So now we're rolling. These two teams have a correlation on week 15. So we'll get a week 15 correlation there with Cincinnati and Tennessee. Still looking for a little bit more week 17. Would like to get Baltimore paired up with Houston and or some Dolphins paired up with the Browns. Definitely think that was a decent range to get those running backs, though. I think you get a decent touchdown upside with Moss, and then you get the sort of all-around contingent upside with Spears, along with your super high upside Devon Achane, and a little bit of a bigger back in Moss, so a little bit more durability there. Now it's time to get back on wide receivers, and this is a pretty good range to do it. Not a huge Jerry Jeudy fan, but he does pair well with Achane. Otherwise, I am looking definitely to get back into Polk. Michael Wilson to go with Puka. Houston plays who week 15? Miami. Yes, so that's also a really good correlation. Big Gabe. Big Game Gabe, who just went. Getting a little boxed out here on wide receiver. Taking that early QB and early tight end. Always a challenge. All right, I say we just get Benson for that upside. I think that's a good pairing right there. And now we're going to go wide receiver. Okay. Now we can pair Lad to a 1v1 with Jalen Polk. So we've got a 1v1 with Lad and Polk, Hollywood and Rashi. Want to run it back with Pittsburgh somewhere in here. And then Arizona with Puka, 1v1 there. And we've got the Stroud tank stack, Devon Achan, and then there is some week 15 correlation in here as well. Would love to get a Detroit piece. Would love to get a Michael Wilson passing piece. And just see what other downs, obviously, in this range feels pretty good. I don't know if we have any. Yeah, Chargers play Tampa Bay. I think it's week 16. So Jalen McMillan would go well with the Lad stack. Michael Wilson. At this point, I think we're back onto wide receiver and tight end is the range now. Chicago plays who? Chicago. Minnesota. Chicago. Detroit. So yeah, getting that Detroit piece could be nice. And then Chicago, Seattle. All right. Just to recap, we are in a marathon $15 draft on Underdog. The tournament closes today. It hasn't filled. So getting in as many drafts as we can here in the final few hours. And then that will complete the 2024 best ball drafting season. It's been fun. It's taken a long time. It's by far my most best ball drafts. Well, it's the first time I've ever done best ball. So not only is it the most best ball drafts, it's the most drafts I've ever done in a year. But I'm happy that most of them are best ball. I don't have to deal with them as the season goes along. That's the beauty of best ball. And I'm only going to get more into it next year. I think it's one of the coolest new formats. It's been around for a while, but in terms of, it's picking up in popularity. So Isaiah Likely also makes sense with this build, given that I have Houston and he could be a sneaky pick back here. So if I could go Likely, which seems unlikely, but likely, and then Demario Douglas fits this build, as does QJ. And Will Levis could also be a good play there. You got an older Mike Evans and an older Chris Godwin, young and hungry Jalen McMillan out there in Tampa Bay, wide receiver from UW, drafted in the 3rd round. He's definitely a target. Xavier Worthy would be as well for late season upside, given the nature of this build. Don't know what he's going to be. Doesn't appear to be a super strong prospect. Wouldn't be one bit surprised if he busts, but if he hits, it could be huge, especially this late in the draft. So I think you take those swings at a guy like McMillan, Xavier Leggett, Demario Douglas, who fits the bill. Leggett is gone. Kind of 3 targets in this range now. Downs is also gone, so 2 picks away. Douglas gone. All right, so given where we're at on this build, I think I go Isaiah Likely to get that run back. Fits the bill, and he's a pretty decent player. And then we get Jalen McMillan. That worked out very nicely. I've got Stroud, so I don't need a rush on Levis. If he's there, fine. But I'm not going to worry about that. I think I need to get my McMillan. Feel good about getting those shares up. Now I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Running a 1, 4, 7, 2 build. With Kittle and Likely, I'm probably done at tight end. So this will probably remain a 2 build on the TE. And now it'll also probably remain a 2 build on. So it's going to be like a 2, 2, 5, 8, 2. Two, 6, 8, 2. Excuse me. 2, 6, 8, 2. Baker, Levis. An obvious last pick here would be either like a Samaje Perine or an Antonio Gibson to pair with Rice and Hollywood. Perine goes. So people are all over that. He's been climbing up the draft boards. A Vidal would also make sense as a 5th RB here. So Gibson, not so much Ray Davis, although who do they play? New York 17. Yeah, that's not a good correlation for this team. New England, the week before that. So New England is a good correlation. So Ray Davis is definitely a target. Gibson, Vidal, among others. Appreciate y'all being here. Nine picks away. Let's take a look at that board. Gibson goes. That's unfortunate. Herbert goes. Wasn't really a target in this particular build. And then Kate Otten. 5 more down the stretch. Jahan Dotson. Can't get on board with that. I might be saved by the fact that these guys have 5 running backs. I might not. We'll have to see. Coach is light on running back, as am I. We went heavy wide receiver in these 2 pretty strong, robust RB builds, and he went really strong, anchor RB, as did I, but I went a little bit more balanced early. He waited. We'll get one of my 2 targets here. Won't get Levis. If I can come out of here with Ray Davis and Vidal, that would be awesome. Both fit the build. I think I'm going to go Ray. and Vidal. I guess if I'm going to go quarterback, no, we'll go Vidal. He's got way more upside. Then we're just going to end this with one other quarterback. My favorite, Drake May. Or we go Daniel Jones. Drake May would have been good. We have a week 14 bye. We have to manage. So 17, 18. Probably go Roman Wilson and Justin Fields. If he doesn't play, that's risky. Ooh, some risk. There's definitely some benching risk. Maybe just go Daniel Jones. I think there's some correlation there. Let's see. New York, Atlanta. New York, Baltimore. Not exactly, I guess you could say. I'm not too worried about him being benched. It's possible. Derek Carr, it's possible. There's a lot of bench risk down here. So I need a 1 week, week 14. He's going to be there. Starter. Gardner Minshew. I think we probably just go Daniel Jones if he's there. If not, I think we probably go Gardner Minshew. Week 10 bye. That'll work well. Now, in terms of the Raiders correlation here, Las Vegas, any of that good stuff. Atlanta, week 15, nothing really brewing there. Jacksonville, didn't really get into those Jacksonville stacks. New Orleans. Didn't really get into New Orleans. Oh. I guess you go Gardner Minshew. Just naked 1 week, week 14. That's all I need him for. It's a little ugly, but he could hit. And then now I can go upside. I can go stack. I can go Drake May. Didn't really want to do a 3 quarterback build with CJ Stroud. Have to admit that. But these wide receiver spots, I just think, yeah, we go May over that upside. So a 3-6-7-2. Kind of interesting there. Definitely a little bit more emphasis on the running backs. I can start 3. 2 RB1, RB2, and flex. That could end up becoming the case. I think it's still a good team, strong build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like and subscribe. And if you haven't already done so, please check out fantasyfitness.io, where I have tools to help you win your fantasy football leagues. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will be back on later for the next live stream.